Welcome to Joy for the Journey, the podcast where we explore the winding paths of purpose, faith, and joy. I'm your host, Joy, and I'm thrilled to embark on this transformative journey with you. Are you a woman seeking more than just existence and a soul yearning for fulfillment, purpose, and unwavering joy? Well, you're not alone. In this sacred space, we'll navigate the highs and lows, the doubts and triumphs, and the divine whispers guiding us toward our true calling. Through candid conversations, inspiring stories, and practical insights, Joy for the Journey is your compass, your confidant, and your catalyst for embracing the abundant life God intends for you. So if you're ready to reclaim your joy, renew your hope, and rediscover the woman God created you to be, join me on this adventure. Let's walk together step by step towards a life filled with purpose, passion, and unbridled joy. This is Joy for the Journey. Welcome aboard. Hey, so welcome to another episode of Joy for the Journey. I'm just going to put these out here. As you know, if you're following me, you know that this is something that I committed to doing 30 days, 30 daily podcasts. And so right now, they're just going to be the things that God has shared with me. And so one of the things that I've been kind of grappling with is sometimes it's hard to hear the voice of God. Flat out, plain and simple. I don't have a whole super spiritual thing about it. Sometimes it's just really hard. And over the last couple of months, I've really been like, okay, God, is this what you want me to do? God, where do you want me to go with this? God, how do you want this to look? God, is this even really you talking? And I just was just praying before God, like, God, I wish you would just show me yourself a little more. Help me to hear you, Lord. Give me the burning bush at this point, Lord. Give me the lapping people with the water, like Gideon. Lord, just show me what it is you want from me. And the more and more I prayed about it, I started doing this devotional with a girlfriend of mine. And the interesting thing is that God kept dropping the word idol in my spirit. Idol, idol, idol. And I was like, God, I don't have any idols in front of you. I don't worship money. God, I don't worship things. I don't worship my car. I don't worship my kids. I mean, God, I'm not putting anything in front of you. I'm giving, I'm sowing, I'm going to church, I'm serving your people. God, I'm doing all you've asked me to do. So how on earth am I putting an idol before you? And so then one morning I was praying and I was doing this Bible study that I'm doing right now. And it's called Starved. And I was doing the Bible study. And the one thing that came to my mind was Stephen, my husband. And what God showed me was, no, you're not creating an idol. No, you don't have idols in front of me. But you have allowed Stephen to be the voice that you hear sometimes before you hear me. And I was like, God, no, no, that's not true. I'm always, listening for your voice. I'm always listening for you. But the more and more I thought about it, the more and more I realized that inadvertently, I had gotten to a place where I was so busy making sure that the house was run, making sure that Stephen was happy, making sure that the girls were happy, that I would do that even before stopping to consider what God would want me to do. And so I looked up the definition of idol, and it refers to any object, person, or concept that is worshiped or revered in place of or alongside God. And this is where it stuck me because I'm like, God, I didn't replace you. But I could see how I had made my friends and my relationship and my relationships with others be parallel to God. How do I know that? Because I would ride in my car and would scroll through my phone to find somebody to talk to. Instead of spending that time quietly listening to God or even having a conversation with God, I would find somewhere to fill my time, especially because I get in the carpool line and every day. So when I'm in the carpool line, instead of reading my word or listening to something that will uplift my spirit and encourage me, I would find myself really, really, really looking for someone to talk to and actually getting mad when people didn't answer. And so I realized I was putting things and I was putting people before God, not intentionally. And this is what I realized. The enemy is so crafty now that instead of him making it super blatant that we are no longer seeking God, it's subtle. So if you find yourself spending more time with people than God, that's subtle. If you, like me, find yourself thinking, what will others think? Or what would they say before saying, what does God think? Or what would God say? That's an idol. If you find yourself with more time for others and more time for other things, if you find yourself stuck and not hearing from God, it might be because you've created an idol. And in the Bible, of course, idolatry was always something that was a grave sin, and it is all the things that we should not be. But it takes on various forms. Like, it is no longer, in my opinion, the thing of I wash my car every Saturday because I'm going to park at the end of the street or at the end of the parking lot at a grocery store because I don't want anyone to hit my car. It is really just the elevation of anything above our spiritual values. So it could be leaders, it can be desires, it can even be ambition. When I get to the point where I'm working so hard on Sundays or I'm so fatigued on Sundays that I can't get up and go to church because I've worked all week and I've done so much, that, friends, could be an idol. Because now I can't even give God what he deserves, whether it's Saturday or Sunday, if we want to be honest about the Sabbath, but I can't even give God what he deserves because I'm so busy giving to everyone else that I have nothing left for God. And so idolatry is not as easy to recognize, I believe, as it used to be. I believe that many of us are struggling with this and we're wondering why we're not hearing from God and wondering why we don't know what's going on in our lives. It may be because we've actually created an idol. And so as I was praying, I'm like, okay, God, well, that's all well and good. I got some idols. I got some things that I've put before you. And I was really trying to understand what I could do to eliminate this because I didn't do it on purpose. Like, if you know me, you know I serve God. You know I serve his people. You know that's all I want to do is for him to be pleased. So I'm like, well, God, what do I do? Like, how do I get back to a place where you are my priority, where you are the first person I seek, where you are the first thing that I seek? Because at this point, God, I am so far out of whack and didn't even realize it. Almost like a ship on a sea that's still, or a boat that's on the sea that's still, that even when you're not intending, the waves are moving the boat and the boat is kind of moving. And so then you look up and you're so far away from land. And you're like, how did I get here? That's where I was. So I'm like, well, God, what do I do? Because I don't want to live a life that is not honoring you. I don't want to put anything before you. Your word says that I should have no other God before you. Your word says that I should serve you and only you should I serve. And this is Exodus 23:5, and it says, you should not make for yourself an image in the form of anything in heaven above or on earth beneath or in the waters below. You should not bow down to them and worship them. For I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God. So I'm like, okay, God, I understand that. So what do I do? Because I wasn't trying to put anything before you. I wasn't trying to make something bigger, better, grander than you. And so I wrote down 3 things and I'm going to share them with you. Here are the 3 things that I did and I continue to do. Because let me be clear, I have to continue to check myself. But here are 3 things that I've done to help me as it relates to making sure that things and people are not idols. So the first one, which is going to sound really interesting, is practice detachment. Yeah. Sometimes you got to let some stuff and some people go. So you want to evaluate the attachments that you have to people and things in your life, because attachments can become unhealthy unbeknownst to you. Always wanting to spend time with your girlfriends, always wanting to hang out, always wanting to spend time with your kids, not finding a balance for yourself, not finding a balance for God, that can easily become an unhealthy attachment. And so you got to ask yourself, are there people that I've been holding on to for security, for identity purposes, for happiness? Are there people or things that I've been holding on to that have made me feel like I'm worthy or I'm good or I'm valuable or I'm validated? Because if you have, you want to practice detachment. And it doesn't mean you got to walk away completely and turn away. I think that's the misconception of what detaching is. Sometimes detaching is just loosening the grip. So it's not always about letting go, throwing it out the window. Sometimes it's just about letting it go, loosening the grip a little bit, and acknowledging that all of your worth is rooted in God, not in the people or the things. Okay, number 2, set healthy boundaries. Oh my gosh, we live in a world where everybody's talking about boundaries, right? Boundaries, 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 boundaries. But I always say boundaries are super important in relationships and possessions when they play a role in your life that becomes a big time consumption. So if you're spending a lot of time with people or a lot of time doing things, it's easy for our boundaries to be reduced. And so you always want to make sure that you're setting healthy boundaries so that you don't have an unhealthy amount of time, energy, or bandwidth. I mean, I'm so emotionally tired. Well, how much time are we spending giving to other people? Because here's the truth. If we spend half of that time giving to God, we would be restored. We would be renewed. We would be refreshed because that's what God wants for us. He wants us to pour into Him, and He's going to pour back into us. And when He pours back into us, we have the ability to continue, the ability to go forward. So we have to protect our boundaries to ensure that our boundaries are aligned with God. The people that we're spending time with, do they align with God? The things that we're investing in, do they align with God? Because the answer is, if it doesn't, it's unhealthy, and you're going to find yourself drifting, and you're going to find yourself resurrecting idols unintentionally. And then the last one, which is my favorite, is realign your affections. Realign what God wants for you with what you want for yourself. I mean, truly seek first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all other things will be added. And sometimes other things are other people. I know right now I feel like I'm in a season of isolation. And no matter how much I try to put myself out, and yes, I have moments of friendship and fun with some of my girlfriends, but I find myself more and more craving that. And I'm like, God, why am I craving so much attention and so much by way of relationship? And what God showed me is because you're trying to feel that part of relationship with other people. That part of relationship, Joy, I've created and carved out specifically for myself. So the more and more you seek other people, the more and more you're going to be empty. The more and more you put your affections and your love on the things and other people, the more you're going to find that you will not have the time, the resources, or the energy to do anything because you're pouring out, but you're not getting it back in. So I had to stop and say, okay, God, well, how do I realign my affections? And He said, just come back to me. Come back to me. Come back to who I am. Those idols, those people that you have put before me, remove them. And you don't have to break up with them. You don't have to make a major declaration. But what you can do is say, you know what, God, I seek you first. When I wake up in the morning, I'm not going to check my phone first. When I wake up in the morning and I open my eyes, my first thought is, Lord, thank you for this day. It's all about you. When I get ready to pick up my phone, do I need to have this conversation? Or even if I'm in the conversation, is this conversation glorifying God? Is it building me up? Is it strengthening me? Because if the answer is no, then all it's doing is filling a space that God intended for Himself. And the truth about idols is that's exactly what they are. They're the replacement or something that is in alignment with the way that we should view God. So I challenge you to identify your idols. And it may be a hard thing to do. I mean, it was hard for me to acknowledge that I'm trying to be a good wife, but I've put Stephen in the place of a God in some way. And that no matter what I do, it's not enough because He can't give me what God can give me, which is the joy that's unspeakable, which is the validation that I'm a great wife and a great mother. Not that He doesn't do it, but it's not for Him to sow those things into me. My strength and my help comes from God. So if you've got some idols, sister, today is the day to cast them down. And if you don't know how, say, Lord, listen, show me things that I've put before you. Because I guarantee you He will. God, show me what I've put before you. Show me the people I've put before you. Show me the things that I've put before you. And help me, God, to recognize them and to begin to practice detachment, to begin to set healthy boundaries, and to realign my affections with yours. I hope that helps you as we continue to walk this journey together of purpose, because as you walk along the purpose journey, it's easy for idols to be erected. As you walk along the purpose journey, it's easy for the enemy to distract you with things and people. So just be mindful and aware as we continue to walk in purpose. Welcome to Joy for the Journey, the podcast where we explore the winding paths of purpose, faith, and joy. I'm your host, Joy, and I'm thrilled to embark on this transformative journey with you. Are you a woman seeking more than just existence and a soul yearning for fulfillment, purpose, and unwavering joy? Well, you're not alone. In this sacred space, we'll navigate the highs and lows, the doubts and triumphs, and the divine whispers guiding us toward our true calling. Through candid conversations, inspiring stories, and practical insights, Joy for the Journey is your compass, your confidant, and your catalyst for embracing the abundant life God intends for you. So if you're ready to reclaim your joy, renew your hope, and rediscover the woman God created you to be, join me on this adventure. Let's walk together step by step towards a life filled with purpose, passion, and unbridled joy. This is Joy for the Journey. Welcome aboard.